Today, we're going to be talking about the biomechanics of basketball. We will be discussing free body diagrams, elastic energy, and finally, Magnus force. A free body diagram shows all the external forces acting on a system. For a basketball player remaining in a bent position before a free throw, we will analyze the segment, which includes his knee, shank, and foot. We must include the muscle force as well as the joint force acting in relation to the knee joint. We must also include the force of the weight of the shank as well as the opposing ground reaction force acting on the foot. Free body diagrams help us to visualize the forces acting on a stationary system. Next, we will talk about Magnus force. Magnus force is commonly observed when a spinning ball curves away from its principal flight path. When a ball is rotating in the air, the surface drag creates a higher air velocity on one side of the ball than on the other side. This difference in air velocities creates a pressure differential between the two sides of the ball, moving the ball laterally. This force, moving the ball laterally, is known as the Magnus force. Magnus force can be seen in many sports, including basketball.
This effect occurs whenever a player puts a spin on the basketball when taking a shot. The spin on the basketball during a shot is always in the counterclockwise direction, as you can see here. The first half of the trajectory of the ball is also directed upwards, in this case to the right, as denoted by this V line here for velocity. During this time, air is flowing in the opposite direction of the velocity of the ball. As the air molecules come into contact with the ball, they are slowed down by friction. This type of friction is called surface drag. On the top side of the ball, the rotation of the ball is in the same direction as airflow. The velocity of the ball is thus able to overcome the surface drag effect, creating a higher air velocity on this side of the ball compared to the bottom side. On the bottom side of the ball, the direction of airflow is opposite to the rotation of the ball. As a result, surface drag is more predominant on this side of the ball, creating a lower air velocity. This difference in velocity on the sides of the ball creates a pressure differential, in which there is low pressure on top of the ball and high pressure on the bottom of the ball. This pressure wants to equalize, and so the high pressure side of the ball pushes the ball towards the lower pressure side, creating a Magnus force in this direction here. In the second half of the ball's trajectory, the same concept applies. The Magnus force acts in this direction here, as high pressure on this side pushes the ball towards the lower pressure side as a result of the differences in air velocities created by the surface drag effect. Because air resistance has little effect on the ball's flight path due to small velocities with which basketballs are shot, putting a spin on the ball is not really advantageous while the ball is in the air. The spin has a greater effect after the ball hits the rim. When the ball hits the rim, the backspin on the ball gives the ball a greater chance of going in, as it provides it with a greater vertical projection.
Next, we will talk about elastic energy. Elastic energy is the potential mechanical energy stored in the configuration of a material or system as work is performed to distort its shape. Elastic energy occurs when objects are compressed and stretched.
Pre-stretching the muscles is another commonly used technique in basketball. Whether trying to catch a high over-the-head pass, going in for a dunk, or trying to win a jump ball, by utilizing this mechanism, an athlete can enhance his or her chances of successfully completing one of these feats. When players jump, they most often utilize the counter movement method, as it is advantageous when trying to maximize jump height. This method involves first flexing at the hip and knee joints, followed by a rapid extension. It is especially important that the extension phase of the jump occurs quickly, as the elastic energy stored within the leg muscles as a result of the initial flexion movement must be returned to the system very quickly or it is lost. Within the muscle cells, the myosin-actin cross bridges within the sarcomeres act like springs. When the cross bridges within the extensor leg muscles are stretched in the initial flexion movement of the counter movement, the cross bridges store elastic energy, which will then be released in the extension phase, also known as the shortening cycle of the jump. This stretching of the cross bridges results in greater force production per cross bridge than if a pre-stretch were not to occur. Greater force production ultimately allows the athlete to jump higher, which, as already stated, is advantageous in certain situations.
This concludes our presentation on the biomechanics of basketball. Maybe next time you are watching the game or playing yourself, you will keep in mind the forces acting on the ball as well as the players, which allow them to perform as they do.